One second. Yeah, are you able to see the screen, Fatima?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. One second. Yeah. Give me a second. Okay. So, merchant banking is one of the most important service which is provided by different kinds of financial intermediaries. Now, we know basically, whenever we talked about Indian financial system, we have understood that there are n number of banks which are catering to the needs of people in general by providing different kinds of loans, be it short-term loans, medium-term loans. So that is what the commercial banks basically do. And these commercial banks are considered as performing a retail banking function. Now, there is a background to this merchant banking. Now, universally, if you have to see the overall definition of merchant banks, basically, there is not specified in general what is a merchant bank in specific, but historically, if you have to see, they have been existing for as long as the banking history as well. So they were there since 17th and 18th century, seen in Italy and France. When you look at the present scenario of merchant banking, we can say that it has started in the modern era from London. So basically, when you look into the history of banking, also it has been traced back to the first bank, that is Bank of Venice, and all the banking which we are doing currently in our country. We have an influence of Britishers by the way they have invaded our country and all that. So even merchant banking, it has started from London only. So the merchant started to finance the foreign trade through acceptance of bills. So by this, you can understand that whenever we are talking about traders or merchants, it is always about business trade. Not just trade within one particular economy, but internationally. So whenever somebody is doing international trade, there is a need for n number of services to connect the exporter and importer and deal with multiple aspects by providing long-term loans. So when you look at the Indian scenario, merchant banking has officially started through Grindlays Bank in 1967 and Citibank in 1970. So in a banking commission report was given in 1972, which has recommended the setting up of merchant banking institutions by commercial banks and financial institutions. So this is where a specialized activity of merchant banking of India was seen. So later, when you look at the next part of it, we can see State Bank of India has started merchant banking activities in 1972, followed by other banks like ICICI, Canara Bank, and UCO Bank. So merchant banking has gained a lot of popularity and prominence during 1983 to 84 due to the new issue boom which happened in the markets. So that is what is the historical aspects with regards to merchant banking. Okay, now looking at what is merchant banking all about. So merchant banking is nothing but, it deals mostly with international finance, long-term loans for companies, and it deals with basically underwriting. So all of you understand, these aspects, how they are important for any particular company which is expanding, is on the growth part. So merchant banking primarily involves in not just funding, but also in giving advices and providing certain consultation and counseling services for large corporations and wealthy individuals. So basically you can understand that, they are the ones, who are engaged in the business of issue management, basically, either by making arrangements regarding all the aspects of selling, buying, or subscribing of securities as a manager, consultant, as an advisor, rendering corporate advisory services in relation to any such issue management. So mostly they deal with issue management. So these are not the ones which regularly do banking business in general. One second. Okay, these are not the one which are involved in doing regular banking business like any other commercial bank. So merchant banks invest their own capital in client companies and provide service through mergers and acquisitions as well. So this is one of the important question for your examination point of view. Most of the time they ask what are the different kinds of services which are provided by merchant bankers. So you need to be prepared. So a merchant bank is also known as wholesale banker in the business of wholesale banking, because they primarily deal with merchant banking and large financial institution. So there are many merchant bank players in all the sectors: private sector, public sector, and foreign players. Now coming to what are the different kinds of services. All the financial institutions in India, they are unable to meet the demand of long-term fund required by the industry and trade. So therefore, there is a gap which has to be filled with regards to establishment of different companies and industries. So one of the major aspect is about issuing of shares, debentures in the capital market, and how to raise money from capital market, and by providing different kinds of services, it is very, very important for the companies to understand how to go ahead with doing business, and also saving taxes and meeting all the statutory requirements. So it is extremely important for all these merchants, industrialists, traders, who are there, who are wanting to do business. So basically, merchant banking provides all these types of services. So to list few, they deal with corporate counseling, project counseling, working capital finance. They deal with loan syndication. They do issue management. Issue management is one of the important aspect. They market, they price the issue, they deal with underwriting of shares. They do have this portfolio management, restructuring of strategies, and they help all these companies in other types of financing like leasing. And these are some of the services which are provided by merchant banks. Now, when we talk about the first and foremost thing with regards to corporate counseling, so corporate counseling is required to efficiently run any particular company or an enterprise. So here under corporate counseling, what all happens basically, whenever a company is getting established, it is extremely important for the company to make certain projects and get those projects funded. So last initial class, we have discussed about certain field feasibility studies as well. So whenever we are starting a particular company, the project is so important. So project counseling with all the experts who can suggest with regards to all the elements of commercial viability, financial viability of that particular project, by understanding the different dynamics of doing business. So all such kind of things happen with regards to project counseling. And another important aspect is with regards to location factors also. So strategically, location should be so very important for the organizations in order to get leverage in doing business. So location is one of the major constraints. And another important issue is with regards to the capital structure or capital restructuring. So how much should be in the form of debt, how much should be in the form of equity, and what are the different kinds of investment decisions which are to be taken. Okay, what is the working capital requirement, and what is the fixed deposits which are required, and what kind of loans they require, from whom they require, and who are the different kinds of agencies which are willing to give loans. Okay, all these matters. So when how are they going to subscribe for their go and manage their issue, issue management issues, and leasing finance and acceptance of credit. All these things will be discussed in corporate counseling. So merchant bankers are providing such kind of service to all these enterprises which are about to start big projects, and they are looking at all these types of services. Okay, so the scope of corporate counsel is not just giving suggestions and options to the clients, but also help them take certain actions in solving the problems. So this is how the merchant banks work. So it is provided to a corporate unit with a view to ensure better performance and maintain steady growth and work towards diversification and create better image among investors. So that is what is about corporate counseling. Okay. Now coming to the next one is about project counseling. Okay, so already as we have discussed, it includes preparation of project reports, deciding upon the finance patterns of the cost of the project, and appraising the project and understanding the viability, filling up of application forms. Why? Because not everybody is acquainted with that particular skill of what are the forms which have to be filled and how they have to approach agencies for loans and everything. So it is very important for them to help them in filling the required relevant forms by supplying them with the required data which is very important or relevant information, so that they can get funds from financial institutions. Not just that, project reports are prepared to obtain even government approvals. So get financial assistance also and plan for public issue. So all of these things are extremely important. Okay. So that is where the merchant bankers will help all these corporates to help them understand, submit good project proposals so that they can acquire loans. So the financing mix also, whenever they are doing these reports, the financing mix is also there to decide, keeping in view you all the rules, regulations, and norms which are issued by the government and which are to be followed by the financial institution. So if we are applying, if we are going with a proposal with regards to a report, it is very important to do the reverse engineering aspect, understand from the perspective of who is giving us loan. So we as an individual who is not involved in submitting all these things would not know what are the parameters and aspects which will be checked thoroughly. So if you seek the help of a merchant banker, he understands what it takes and how somebody can grant us loans and what are the parameters which they are looking at, and are we ready with all these things will be checked by the merchant banker. Okay. Now, coming to this one important thing in between, which is there is issue management. So when you talk about basically issue management, whenever a company comes into existence, it has to involve in marketing of corporate securities, equity shares, preference shares, debentures, bonds, whatever they are offering to the public. So merchant banks will act as intermediaries whose main job is to transfer capital from those who own it to those who need it. So basically issue function can be divided into pre-issue management and post-issue management. In both stages, there are certain legal requirements which are to be compliant with, and there are several activities which are connected with this issue. So these pre-issue management and post-issue management are to be dealt with in detail. So whenever we are talking about pre-issue management, so there is something known as issue through prospectus, offer for sale, and private placement. Now, marketing and underwriting and pricing of issue. Now, all of you know, whenever a joint stock company comes into existence, it will call upon general public to invest in that particular company through an IPO. So the first invitation happens through prospectus. So all those people who are looking at this particular company as a promising entity will have to subscribe for shares. So the common method is of public issue is through prospectus only. So offers for sale through intermediary of issue houses by the stock brokers or stock broking companies. So the company will, what it will do, it will sell its entire issue of shares and debentures to the issue houses at an agreed price, which is generally below the par value. Okay. So coming to, all these things are to be adhered according to the SEBI guidelines. So merchant bankers will completely manage the issue. Okay. So he will also help in promoting it, promoting as in, publicizing it, campaigning for it, that is marketing about this particular company which is doing its IPO. Okay. So the company representatives, after the dispatch of prospectus to SEBI, the merchant bankers will arrange for meetings with all the company representatives, advertising agencies, to finalize the arrangements relating to date of opening and closing of issue and registration of prospectors, launching campaigns, and fixing upon the dates of board meetings for approval. Okay. And prospectors, and pass the necessary resolutions. Now, after that, they price the issue also. Okay. So, pricing the issue, you know that aspects of listing of a company has to have a minimum of 5 years track record. So pricing issue also is a part of a pre-issue management which happens. So all that happens with regards to pricing of issue. Now, post-issue management consists of collection of application forms and statements of accounts which are received from bankers, screening of different applications, deciding on allotment procedures, mailing the allotment letters, share certificates and refund and all those things. So a time limit of 70 days has been approved to adhere to all these norms, and it might go up to 180 days also. So they try to assist the company in coordinating this complete issue management with regards to, application, allotment, first call, final call, etc. Not only this, the other aspect of public issue is underwriting of public issue. So underwriting is like a guarantee given to the given by the underwriter to the company, just in case if there is no non adherence to minimum subscription. So if there is any kind of under subscription, so there are two cases. We can have under subscription or over subscription. If there is under subscription, it is always important for the merchant bankers to uh, you know give this particular service by providing whatever is the deficit. So until unless underwriting agreement is fulfilled, there is no guarantee that the company can start its activities. Therefore, the amount underwritten is to be subscribed by them. So it is this is what is about underwriting. Now, apart from that, they provide even working capital finance. So meeting day-to-day expenses of an enterprise is extremely important, and understanding the working capital needs also is extremely important. So preparing of necessary applications for negotiation for sanction of credit facilities is all about the working capital and issue management. Now, coming to the next aspect is portfolio management. Now, portfolio refers to the investment, that in different kinds of securities, such as, shares, debentures, bonds issued by different companies, and securities which are also issued by government. So it is about a combination of different kinds of securities in order to manage the risk element by having some diversity. Why? Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, you know what is going to happen. There is going to be a huge risk. So portfolio management is basically maintaining a proper combination of securities in a manner that they can give maximum returns with minimum risk. So merchant bankers, what do? They provide such kind of a service, which is very, very prudent for all the corporates. So every investor is basically interested in three elements. That is profits. The second one is with regards to liquidity. And the third one is with regards to maintaining solvency. So wherever investments are being made, every investor is only worried about these three aspects, that is safety, liquidity, profits, okay, and being solvent. But do everybody can understand how it is going to ensure safety? Means how do they know what kind of security is going to be appropriate for them for investment so that their investments are safe? There's no guarantee. So what happens? These merchant bankers, on behalf of all these clients, they have these experts who guide them with regards to managing their portfolio. So merchant bankers, what do? They play a very important role with regards to conducting regular market and economic surveys so that they are able to suggest. So when they are doing these surveys, basically they study the current trends. They also look into monetary policy, fiscal policies of the government. They look into financial statements of various corporate sectors in which the investments can be made. They also look at the secondary market, share market, what are the market trends, changing patterns in the industry, and what is affecting. what is the competition which is faced by the industry, and what are the similar types of industries which are coming. So they analyze all these surveys, and these portfolio managers will classify the investors on the basis of the risk bearing capacity of these investors. So depending on the risk bearing capacity, portfolio management plans will be given. Successful investment strategies will be given to these investors. So these are extremely important these days. Why? Because that is how people now today, every time people who want to look into news, ET Times, and they want to watch the shows where the financial analysts are talking about the market trends and what is going to happen in the near future, so that their position in the market is going to be safeguarded. So so that is what is, so basically they help in minimizing the risk and maximizing the returns by having a combination of different kinds of securities, so that the risk element is little less. Now coming to restructuring strategies. Now, when you talk about advisory services relating to restructuring is with regards to mergers and acquisitions. So a merger is a combination of two or more companies becoming one single company, where one services and one survives and the other loses their corporate existence. So it is a takeover. What happens in a takeover? It is like one company is purchasing the other company and controlling the interest of the share capital of one of the existing companies. So here merchant bankers act as middlemen in negotiating between these two companies. Why? Because whenever we are bringing two companies together, there would be a lot of discussions and debate. There is a lot of negotiation with the offeree and the offerer. So here the middleman would have to strike a balance, wherein these collective bargaining strategies will be implemented by the merchant bankers, and the offers being a professional expert, has to safeguard the interest of the shareholders and also that of the company. So once the merger partner has been proposed, the merchant banker appraises. He has to do the evaluation, appraisal of the merger or a takeover proposal with respect to the financial viability and technical feasibility. Then he negotiates the purchases, considerations, and what are the different kinds of modes of payment, and has to obtain approvals of various authorities, that is from government, the Reserve Bank of India, various draft schemes, amalgamations, and approvals. All these things he has to take care, because he is one of the professional member or an expert who can manage such kind of mergers and takeovers. Recently, we have seen the merger of nationalized banks. Now, still the process is happening. Every day we are, all those people who had accounts in other banks, and they have been merged into Big 12 now. So the process is slow and steady, and it is going on. That is the way it happens. So it is always important to have such kind of a body which is neutral and which is going to help in this kind of takeover and merger. Now coming to the next aspect is credit syndicate or loan syndication. So what is meant by loan syndication? Now sometimes all these companies might require huge amount which cannot be offered by one single entity or one single institution. There is always cash crunch in the economy. So what merchant bankers will do? So merchant banker here will help these particular companies to obtain loan from a consortium of entities, but not just one single entity. So here there are n number of developmental banks which give loans. There are LIC, GIC, corporate sector, all these, there are certain commercial banks which are there. So all these entities will form as one consortium, and they can take care of their own portfolios of minimizing their risk. So for the company also, it is always important. Why? Because it is always about the total cost of the project, but it is not about who is giving us loan. So, but it is very difficult for us, for the company to go and acquire loan from multiple agencies. So here merchant banker will chip in. So he helps his clients approach different financial institutions for term loans. So it also depends on what kind of industry, what is the unit size, and what is the project cost. So he makes an appraisal of the project which is viable, and he submits that. Already we know in project report and all that we have discussed. So once he designs the capital structure, determining the promoter's contribution, and he arrives at the figure of loan which is to be raised. Now, after figuring out the capital structure, and then he decides what is a promoter's contribution, and what is the figure of the loan which is expected to be raised. So then he will chalk down all the guidelines for financing industrial projects. So after the complete verification process of the project which is eligible for the term loan, the preliminary meeting is fixed with the financial institutions. And if they consider to approve the proposal, the application is filed, and all the documents which are required to be submitted to the financial institutions are submitted. And all these works are to be done extremely diligently by adhering to all the rules and regulations. So it is a bigger thing. It is one of the major aspect. Why? Because otherwise it is very difficult to convince for a consortium of loan. So that is one of the important service, that is loan syndication. Now, last class we have discussed about leasing and hire purchase per se. So it is one of the indirect finance, which is one of the alternate source of financing of capital. So for any business, there is requirement of different kinds of assets, equipment, which is very, very essential. So it involves letting out of assets and drafting a lease agreement, and understanding all the rules and norms and regulations and rights and duties of the lessee and the lessor, and what is a period of time, and what happens when there is a breach of contract between these two parties. So understanding and having a clear cut understanding of the viability of the lease, and what is the structure of rental and everything. So in that way also these merchant bankers would help. Another aspect is sick industries. So not just existing industries, which is a startup, which is going for a primary issue, or it is going for the further issue, but it is also about reviving the existing ones which have become ultimately sick. So reviving and rejuvenating old lines and ailing units by apprising, understanding and recommending the need for revival with regards to where they went wrong, and what is the strategy they have to implement with regards to technology or processes or products, or their capital structure, or their debts and all that. So they give these advices to such kind of industries and put them under rehabilitation packages, and help them get loans from the financial institutions or banks, and also suggest them for the future course of action, which can be either in the form of merger or acquisition. So all these things will be done. Okay. So again, whenever we are talking about portfolio management, we have discussed that there are n number of services or securities in which investments can be made, and how we can manage a balanced portfolio. So mutual funds is one such thing. So it is a collective investment scheme where pooled money from several investors is channelized into productive purposes. Why? Because by which what happens is the risk element is diffused. Why? Because when the risk is diffused and diversified and putting into n number of sectors, n number of companies, way of varied sectors. What happens if there is a boom in one particular sector? There can be a recession in one particular thing. So it would be, the risk will be balanced and subsided from one thing to another. So investing in diversified portfolios and shares is only possible if you are wanting to invest in blue chip companies. It is always better to go for SIPs. So, and assuring some regular returns on investments. They have offshore banking facility also. So the merchant bankers also help their clients in long-term foreign currency loans, joint ventures abroad, financing exports and imports, and foreign collaboration arrangements as well. Don't just think that they are only looking at all the domestic activities, but they're also looking at offshore banking. So the banker renders such kind of services with regards to appraisals, negotiations, and compliance with the procedures and legal aspects. And they also deal with non-residential investments. So include, they provide investment services to NRIs also in terms of identifying of different kinds of investment opportunities, selection of securities, investment management. They can also take care of operational details like purchase and sale of securities, securing necessary clearance from RBI, and all these things by providing services to NRIs. Why? Because foreign direct investments are extremely important for any particular economy. Now, let us see in a nutshell what are the differences between commercial banks and merchant banking. So when you talk about commercial banks, basically give loans. It is all to do with retail banking for a common man. So yesterday we have understood in the first class that commercial banks are directly dealing with accepting of deposits, advancing of loans, and dealing with different kinds of negotiable instruments. So mostly they deal with short-term and medium-term loans, whereas merchant banks cater needs to the corporate firms. So here we can say that they are basically looking at the wholesale banking. Wholesale banking is something we can say. Okay. Under commercial banks, anyone can open an account, but in merchant banking, it can't be done. And they are less exposed to risk, and the merchant banking is like wholesale banking. Therefore, their risk is too much. And commercial banks are related to secondary markets, whereas the merchant bankers are related to primary market because they deal with issue management. What happens even before issue management, corporate advisory services, project appraisals, credit rating, everything they look into. So basically that related more to do with primary markets, that is capital issue. So these are asset oriented and these are management oriented. They play a vital role as finances, and these people play a different role as underwriters and portfolio managers. So basically commercial banks are basically debt related, whereas merchant bankers are basically uh, equity related. That is where we have talked about things. And they are governed and regulated by banking regulation at 1949, commercial banks, whereas merchant banks are regulated by SEBI. So that is what is with regards to. Now talking about the advantages and disadvantages. Now, advantages and disadvantages of merchant banks. So merchant banking performs, just now we have seen what all functions. So I don't think advantages, we need to discuss about advantages. Why? Because ultimately they are everywhere. So they are helping in growth of new issue markets. They are helping in entry of foreign investors. They are with regards to changing of policies of financial institutions. Another aspect is in a country like us where there is underdeveloped debt market. So they are doing a very prominent role by helping in development of debt market and bringing in a lot of innovations with regards to financial instruments, corporate restructuring strategies, and helping towards disinvestments. So these banks are contributing a great deal to all the traders, financial institutions. See, it is very important to have the borrower as well as the lender. And if we are able to expand the horizon by enhancing the scope of financial sector, by offering so many services where nobody can deny. Why? Because they are the experts, they act as the lead manager in public issues, and they are performing multiple duties as a lead manager in helping all these corporates to do their business successfully, in understanding everything in the financial system, understanding financial markets, understanding the innovative instruments and portfolios, and helping them with regards to mergers and strategies. And wherever there is a deficit with regards to skill gap, that is fulfilled by merchant bankers. So they are supporting all these corporate entities in a great deal. But there are certain disadvantages. Disadvantages are basically, the first and foremost thing is the small people or the small investors, the marginal people cannot access merchant bankers because the kind of fees and the kind of capital structure and the guidelines which are there. It is more. So merchant bankers are really only for large corporate customers or extremely wealthy small business owners, rather than individual clients. So if an individual wants some kind of a suggestion or wants the portfolio management to be done, no, it is not possible. Okay, so they're not. So it is, though we are telling that these people are experts in all areas with regards to everything, but there is a possibility of they also goofing up certain situations, because sometimes even a very well established entity of merchant bankers can read the analysis wrongly and make service can go for a toss, and they might not meet all the requirements which have to be met before they do the counseling and suggestion. So they might fail sometimes. That is one thing. So there is always that element of risk which is attached to the dealings which are done by merchant bankers. So we need to take everything with little pinch of salt when we are dealing with merchant bankers. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages. Now talking about what are the institutions which are offering uh, merchant banking services. So under public sector, we have all these SBI, Capital Markets Limited, Punjab National Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Karur Vaishya Bank, Syndicate Bank, State Bank of Bikaner, IFCI. Under private sector, you have ICICI, Axis Bank, Bajaj Capital, Reliance, Kotak. Okay, all these things. And SEBI has also given guidelines. We have even foreign players. These are some of the foreign players. Now, apart from that, SEBI is the regulatory body which control the activities of merchant bankers. So SEBI has given guidelines to merchant bankers to protect the interest of investors, and it is mandatory for merchant bankers to disclose on their website all the following things. They have to disclose 3 years of their track record of the companies whose IPO, FPO were managed by them for each issue that matters with regards to issue size, extent of subscription, if there is under subscription, what is the shareholdings, okay, of the 3 years, and financials of the companies for the 3 years. See, this is how anybody would gauge the success of this particular company which is providing merchant banking services. Earnings per share, price earnings, listing averages of their post listing in the industry. All these things are to be submitted. Now, coming to the next aspect is what are the qualities required for a merchant banker. So, merchant bankers, that he plays an extremely catalyst role, that is significant role in transforming project ideas into big ventures. So they are pioneers in helping promotion of enterprises by taking various market surveys, okay, with regards to every aspect. So the success of merchant bankers only depends on the quality of the service and the soundness of the advice which they give to clients. So in order to perform their services effectively, the merchant bankers are expected to possess certain qualities. The first and foremost thing is they should be having an ability to analyze various aspects such as technical issues, financial issues, economic issues, aspects with regards to the formation of a project. That is what is feasibility study. So they need to have that sound knowledge of everything, commercial viability, location, strategies, size of the company, the capital structure of the company, everything. So they should be in that particular, in a particular way, they are able to analyze these aspects very well. And knowledge about various aspects of markets. Now here, already we have discussed that these people are directly related with equity. So capital markets are something which they need to have extreme knowledge about. And when you are talking about capital markets, it is very important for them to understand the stock exchange, about everything with regards to stock exchange, rules of SEBI and psychology of there is finance behavior also, there's a psychology of investment of people in different kinds of securities, and what are their attitudes and behaviors with regards to investment patterns, and what are the different kinds of changing trends in the economy. What are the issues which are happening outside our country which will have an impact in our economy indirectly because of what is happening elsewhere, and what kind of political environment are we in, We study always in business environment, step in, social environment, technological environment, economic environment, political environment, international environment, and natural environment. So all these people who are acting as merchant bankers or lead managers should have the ability to, first of all, knowledge, and the second thing is ability to analyze the trends, taking the complete current economic environment in purview. So that is extremely important quality for a merchant banker. Then coming to the next aspect is anything and everything happens only because of the kind of relationship which they share with the clients. So clients are extremely important. Therefore, the ability to build up that bank and client relationship and live up to the client's expectations with total involvement in the project which is assigned to them is one more prerequisite. Otherwise, they keep losing the clients. If they keep losing the clients, they will not be in a position to do business. Okay. Now, next aspect is innovative approach in developing capital market instruments to satisfy the ever-changing needs of investing public. So they need to find out different kinds of strategies or approaches. Day by day, there are a lot of innovations with regards to capital markets. There are so many innovations like deep discount bonds or samurai bonds or Yankee bonds and all that. So there should be different kinds of approaches which they are innovating with regards to different kinds of capital investments, marketing instruments, so that they are able to satisfy the ever-changing needs of investing public. The other aspect is with regards to integrity and maintenance of professional standards is one of the prerequisites. Why? Because if there is such kind of code of conduct and ethics are extremely important in order to maintain and protect the interest of the client who is there, and that kind of why? Because when you are part of capital market, in few seconds everything will change. Every second matters. So it is extremely important for the merchant bankers to look into everything from professional perspective and maintain certain high standards so that ultimately interest of the investors is protected. So these are the qualities of the merchant bankers. So with which we have completed merchant banking. So this is one of the two short important essay which comes in examinations. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Fatima.
Can you please provide us important questions?
Important questions. Unit wise, you need important questions.
Yes, ma'am. Unit wise only.
I think this is part of the last aspect, right? In this, basically one important question which is most frequently asked essay is, what are the different kinds of services which are provided by the merchant bankers? So it is extremely easy. Why? Because you can write the complete syllabus here. Why? Because now if you look into these particular services which I have explained today, everything is a unit, everything is a chapter in itself. So leasing is one topic, project counseling, like that. See, little underwriting from the time when you are studying business organization and management, you understand how a company comes into existence, right? So issue management and all these things are very, very simple for you people to write an essay, correct? So this is one essay which is extremely important, and sometimes they'll ask you the advantages and disadvantages of it. So Advantages anyhow, you know why, because when you study all the services which are provided by the merchant banker, obviously those are the advantages, right? They are providing expert services by providing all these services so that foreign trade can be done, you know, wholesale credit can be achieved, and all these you'll write it. And disadvantages, you know, there nobody is having so much of super intellect to predict everything which is going to be coming in future, right? So that's such, so advantages, disadvantages, and a difference between a commercial bank and a merchant bank. So these are the three things which you have to study.
Okay,
If anything come also, you will be in a position to write.
And from other units?
See, other units, in the first unit, first question is always important. That is, what are the different types of services which are there? So, fund-based, fee-based. Now, if you again go back and look at the fee-based services, all the services which I have explained under merchant banking are nothing but fee-based services, correct? So if you know this answer, you will be in a position to write easily fund-based and fee-based services.
Okay, ma'am.
So that is the first essay which you have to learn. What are financial services? What are the different types of financial services? So fund-based, fee-based. That is unit 1. Coming to unit 2 is leasing and hire purchase. So what is leasing? What are the different types of leasing? Under different types of leasing, yesterday when I was teaching, I was telling you the difference between financial lease and operating lease. Mostly they'll ask that question only. Okay. Difference between hire purchase and leasing. So 3 essays, pakka, right? So unit 1 and 2. So as and when I'm teaching the rest, I will tell you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. When are you having your examination?
Sorry, ma'am, didn't get.
When are you having your examinations is what I have asked.
What about 6th semester, 5th semester? 5th sem we have from 3rd.
Okay.
And 6th semester we have from 17th.
Okay, so this is like a revision happening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
We are
Anyone
studying
merchant.
SEM 5 portfolio management.
Alina, I'm unable to. Yeah, come again. Alina.
We have studied portfolio management also, ma'am, in SEM 5. It's a brief discussion about portfolio management. It's a very useful.
If you have
And
knowledge
also
of
financial services.
finance and accounting, if you are having a knowledge, you can include all that into this and write it easily. So again, one of the service will come for short question also under merchant banking. Merchant banker as a lead manager. So what all as a lead manager he does. So in a nutshell, in one paragraph, what all he does, you can write. So exclusively, they can give one particular service. For example, what is loan syndication or credit syndication, portfolio management or corporate counseling. Any one service, they can ask you for a short question also.
Okay, ma'am.
So this answer, do not leave it. It is very easy and easy to score also marks.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.